just got your copy of Oathbound, but it's been a while since you've read Legendborn and Bloodmarked, here is your recap video. This is going to contain a ton of spoilers. This is not for people who haven't read the books yet. This is for people who it's been a while since they read Book 1 Legendborn and Book 2 Bloodmarked, and they're getting ready to read Oathbound, but they don't really remember what happened. I'm going to go through both books in detail so that you don't need to do a complete reread before you start reading Oathbound. I am coming with a ton of notes, so this is going to be everything that's happened in those two books. We're going to start at the beginning of Legendborn, where Bree, who is a black 16-year-old, is going to UNC early college. And this is something that her mom really did not want her to do. It was her alma mater, and her mom was being really secretive around the reasons that she didn't want her to go. But then her mom got in this mysterious car accident that resulted in her death, and her dad thought that it might make Bree a little bit closer to her mom by letting her go to her school. So she's starting with her best friend Alice at UNC, and the first night they go to this Corey party, and she sees this guy, Selwyn, basically doing magic, and she can see the magic happening. But what's even weirder is that no one else at this party is reacting to it. So she's like, wait, am I the only one that can see this magic? This is so weird. And then that Selwyn guy basically tries to erase her memory so that she doesn't know that she saw this magic, and she's like, what is going on? But that's not even the worst part of the night, because she gets caught at this party and gets in trouble with the dean on her first night there. The dean's like, you need to kind of have a mentor in this early college program if you're starting trouble the first day. And of course he pairs her with this super hot guy who she has amazing chemistry with, and his name is Nick. Nick meets with her and is basically talking to her about the program, and she sees magic again, but this time it's this hellhound demon that's basically trying to attack and kill them. And not only can Bree see it, but Nick can see it too, and she's like, wait, finally someone else that can see this magic. And Nick basically explains to her that he is kind of a part of this secret society on campus, this order that's descendants of King Arthur and the Round Table. And Nick and his dad, Lord Davis, is basically the head honchos of UNC's order, because Nick and his dad are direct descendants of Arthur himself. And Bree is like, you need to let me in this order because I need to figure out information around what happened to my mom's death, because when her memory was erased by this Selwyn, it triggered her remembering at the hospital when her mom was in the car accident, that her memory got erased there by this shady cop waiting outside the hospital. So Nick brings her to the order, and Selwyn's like, oh my god, this girl again, and tries to erase her memory. But Selwyn's starting to think this girl is shady. Why do all these weird bad magic things keep happening when she's around? And Bria's like, no, I'm staying in this order. And Nick's like, okay, in order to stay, you basically have to go through all of these trials and training to try and be my squire, which is basically his assistant as King Arthur. And everyone in the order, not everyone, most of the people are against it, because they're like, one, who is this girl randomly coming in? Most of the people in the order have been training for this entire life. And then two, there's racist people who don't want a black person in the order. And then there's Selwyn, who's this girl is suspicious, I don't like her at all. But Bree's dad starts getting a little worried about her. One, because she went to a party and got in trouble with the dean the first day, and then she joined the secret society and is staying out all night, and he's like, we need to figure out what's going on. So he hooks her up with this black woman on campus who's a therapist. And when she meets her, Patricia admits that she knew Bree's mom on campus when she went to UNC. And she's like, you were right. Your mom knows magic too. Her death was kind of shady. Patricia's like, I also practice this kind of magic too. It's called root, not ether, how Selwyn was talking about. And she's like, this root magic is basically like magic passed down through generations of Black women. And Patricia's like, I want you to meet this other student, Mariah, who practices root magic, and she's also a medium and can talk to dead people. And Patricia and Mariah basically like connect Bree with her ancestors, and she like actually kind of like goes into like this dream state where she like walks through the memories of her ancestors and sees them all practicing like this root and magic. And Bree like talks to her dad, not about like that she could see dead people, but like that she was like getting more in touch with her mom. And Bree's dad gave her mom's charm bracelet, and when she opened up the present that came from her mom, like she could see magic on the bracelet, and when she touched it, it basically brought her back to a memory with her mom, and her mom was like explaining her magic and like their family curse to her, and the curse is basically like the moms always die young. The same thing happened to Bree's mom too. So Bree's like finally feeling validated because she's like, I'm not crazy, like something happened with my mom. And so while all of this is going on, she's training with the order and doing like all these different trials, but all this shady stuff still keeps happening where like all these demons keep coming. The demons are trying to attack Nick, who is like the King Arthur's descendant, and Selwyn is like, I do not trust this girl at all. Like, why does this keep on happening? And so Selwyn is like kind of keeping a close eye on her, and then actually like tries to kill her because he thinks that like she's trying to attack Nick. Nick's dad, Lord Davis, takes Nick away and is like kind of going to other order branches around the country and finding out like why all these demons are escaping. And Bree and Selwyn do get to know each other better, and Selwyn can like tell that she is really training hard and that she really cares about Nick, because that's also a side plot. Like Nick and Bree are getting really close and like they kiss and the chemistry is like amazing, yada yada yada. But then there's also like this sexual tension with Selwyn too, and there's kind of like something going on with them. So Selwyn and Bree decide to break into Lord Davis's house and look through his files to try and find out more information about Bree's mom. And they find out that when Bree's mom was in college, Lord Davis opened like a gate to let all of these demons come in. And Bree's mom was the one who witnessed it, and he erased her memory. They call it mesmer, like how they were trying to do with Bree. But Bree, when they tried to erase her memory, it never worked. And she's like, wait, did that happen to my mom too? And that's why they killed her. But what's even crazier is Lord Davis blamed the whole thing on Selwyn's mom. So now Selwyn and Bree are kind of connected between the shadiness of Lord Davis, and they're like, we need to tell like the government of the order, which is called the regent, basically like Lord Davis is shady, like we need to call him out. All of this is happening. Then it's the end of the trials of the order, and Nick picks Bree to be his assistant. And obviously Lord Davis hates this because he thinks she's shady, he's racist, and two, he knows or has like an inkling that Bree and Selwyn broke into Lord Davis's house and know like this information on him. So Lord Davis is like, I need to get rid of Bree. I need to take her out. So basically, like Lord Davis captures Nick, his own son, and is trying to like bring all these demons, one to kill Bree, but then also to force King Arthur to like inhabit Nick's body. And so like he thinks that like if the world is in a state of chaos, King Arthur will like come, because like he wants like the fame and notoriety and pride for like the Davis men to like have called King Arthur men. Anyways, this battle is happening, and one of the demons was actually like secretly hidden in the body of one of the other teens in the order, and like all of the other kids in the order are like getting killed and hurt, and it's like crazy. So Nick is like, okay, I need to like pull Excalibur and turn into King Arthur. But before that can happen, who pulls Excalibur? Bree, because it turns out that her ancestors, like when she was doing that like medium walk through the dead that one of King Arthur's descendants was a plantation and slave owner and raped one of his slaves, which was Bree's descendant. So Bree is actually the descendant of King Arthur, and Nick is the descendant of Lancelot. So obviously this makes Lord Davis so mad because he thought that his son was going to be number one, and instead it's like this girl that he hates. So she is King Arthur, and King Arthur is like in her body, like in her mind, because she's a medium. She can talk to dead people. So he's like taking over for her, and it's like crazy. And Lord Davis is like kind of freaked out about her and Nick now, and that Nick is not Arthur. So basically, Lord Davis kidnaps Nick. And so the book one, Legendborn, wraps up with Nick and Lord Davis going away. Not before him and Bree have like a kiss, obviously. And then Bree is like now King Arthur, and everyone is like, what just happened? Big cliffhanger. End of book one. So then book two starts with Nick and Lord Davis are still away. No one knows where they are. Bree has now moved into the lodge of the order, and they're basically like keeping her there as a safe house. Like she cannot leave, because if King Arthur is killed, basically like the whole order dissolves. And she has like all of this power inside of her from King Arthur, from her root power, from her ancestors, the medium power where she can talk to the dead, and she like doesn't know how to control it. So like people are like kind of scared that she's going to explode too. So Victoria, who was one of the other order members and hates Bree, one because she's racist and like thinks she doesn't deserve it, basically called the regents, the government of the order, call them into the lodge to like basically like assess Bree's situation. And all the other order members for the most part really do like Bree and are on her side, but the regents are just very scared by the amount of power she has and how unable she is to control it. So one, they basically take Selwyn, who Selwyn and Bree are now really close, and put him in a shadow hold, which is basically a prison, because they don't trust Selwyn to be away from Nick, because Selwyn and Nick are tied to each other as King's Mage, like the Merlin for him. And they think that Selwyn is like going to like go back into like a demon state, which the government said also happened to his mom. So they take Selwyn and put him in this shadow hold prison. And then they take Bree and they basically like put her in this institution and are like running tests on her. And the government, the region, lies to like the rest of the order about like where they are. They're like, oh, we're just keeping her safe. We're just keeping her safe. And there's this like main guy, Erebus, who's like a high Merlin mage guard guy, like wizard guy. And he's like the one that's like in charge of all of this. And he's like facilitating everything, but you can kind of have an inkling that like he's kind of on Bree's side. Like the rest of the government people are just like all about the politics. You can tell that he like kind of wants her power, and though he's scared of it, he like does want to keep her safe, where like some other people are like, no, we need her locked up. So then the Legion, who are older order members, come and break her out of this institution and basically like take her to a safe house, because they're like, okay, we cannot keep you locked up with the government. They're like running all these scary tests on you. It's crazy. So they break Selwyn out and they break Bree out. And so now Selwyn, Bree, Alice, her best friend from early college, and then William, who's another order member who is also like the healer. They take all four of them and they bring them together to a safe house. And one of the Legion members, Samira, who's also Black, gives her like the name and how to reach this woman, Lucille. And they're like, she will take care of you. And Bree at this point is like, I know I can trust a Black woman. That is all I know right now, because so many other people have done her dirty. So they go and try and find this Lucille, and they end up at like this shady kind of like demon magic bar, and they meet this guy, Valak, who is like half demon, half human. just like how Selwyn is. And he seems like really dangerous and shady at first. But he ends up being on their side and introduces them to Lucille, who ends up being Mariah from the first book, The Medium's aunt. And so Mariah and Lucille are like, yes, we're going to get you a safe house. They basically like have like an underground railroad system for these root magic users. And they're like, we're going to keep you guys all safe. Like, don't worry about it. I'm just checking my notes. There's so much going on. So then they go like from safe house to safe house, and they're trying to find Nick because he is still kidnapped by his dad. And Bree is basically like drawing blood on herself and giving like a blood sacrifice to Arthur, who's like still trapped inside her body, like in her medium talk to dead people mind. And she goes into this dream state where she's Arthur and then Nick is Lancelot, and they can like talk to each other. And Nick is like, don't come find me, I'm safe, I don't want to put you guys in danger. They're also like making out in this dream state. So there's like a little bit of Nick and Bree still going on. But Bree is also trapped with Selwyn in all of these safe houses. And there's also like tension going on with them there too. But Bree finds out that Selwyn has been lying to her because he's been putting on like this glamour over himself so that he looks normal, but he is like slowly descending into more of a demon state because he has not been able to protect Nick, and that's like against his oath. So then there's like this kind of like fracture in their friendship slash relationship. Sorry, my light just went out, but I'm almost done, I swear. So Selwyn and Bree find out where Nick is because Nick is like, I'm in danger. And they go there, and basically like Erebus and the other Mage Guard Merlin guys kill Lord Davis, his dad. And Bree and Selwyn are like, Nick, you need to come with us. Like, you need to come with us. And Nick's like, no, I can't. Like, I need to go on my own. And he runs away. And like Bree's heartbroken because she's like, why did Nick leave me? So then her and Selwyn start like drawing closer together again. And so now they're kind of like training her at these safe houses to kind of like get better use of her magic. But when they're escaping like these Erebus and the Mage Guard around Nick, they basically get caught, and all these demons start coming for them. But Valak, that guy that they saw at that demon bar, comes and saves them. And so they're like, okay, now we know that Valak is on our side. And while they're at like this Underground Railroad safe house, she's training her magic, but then she's also connecting with her ancestors. And when she goes and like speaks to dead people, all our ancestors keep on talking about this guy, the Hunter or the Shadow King. And basically they're like, we keep seeing this Hunter guy and he keeps coming for our power. And they're like, he's shady, he's bad. Like whenever around him, we feel like he's going to try and kill us. And so Bree's on the run from the region, the government, but she's also on the run from this Shadow Hunter guy. But in the safe house, she is safe. But if she ever leaves, like, then they can come and get her. So she's just been, like, hunkering down there. But then the regents finally find where she is, and they're outside of, like, this safeguard bubble. And she's like, okay, like, we're trapped in here, but at least I'm safe. But then Erebus and the regent bring Patricia, her therapist, and they're like, you need to come out or else we're going to kill her. She's like, oh my God, like, I don't want her to die. So basically she gives King Arthur like power to take over her whole body and mind so that King Arthur's power can like fight them, which he does. But then King Arthur's basically like, okay, I'm taking over your body and I'm not going to let Bree out. So Bree is like trapped in her body and mind. And Erebus comes and like meets with King Arthur, and he's like, we're going to get the whole round table together. Like, we need to like come back together. So Erebus and the regent and King Arthur go back to the lodge where all the other order members are. And basically like Selwyn and the other order members like find out the truth that the regent wasn't like really guarding Bree, that they were like running tests on her and like trying to capture her, and like the order finds out the truth about all of this situation and King Arthur. And then at like the very end of the book, then basically like Sel sucks out all of the power from King Arthur, which turns him into his demon self, but saves Bree. So Sel and Nick come together to save Bree, but then Sel is like dying and going crazy and turning into a demon. And obviously Bree now is really close with Selwyn. So Bree makes a deal with Erebus, the guy who has been like holding her hostage for this entire second book, and it was like, if you bring Selwyn to his mom and try and save him from becoming a demon, then I will go with you. And the book 2 Bloodmark ends with Bree realizing that Erebus is the hunter, the Shadow King that has been basically hunting the woman in her family for generations. They're so good. Can't wait to read book 3.